Okay, thank you so much, guys. Welcome to first of all, welcome to my video, which is welcome to my podcast, which is called Cinephile Sanket. And today, आज हम discuss कर रहे वाले हैं the best of 2023 Hollywood and World Cinema Edition. So, thank you so much, Aseem, and thank you so much, Dhruv, for coming to my podcast. So, first, let me introduce the guest. But Aseem is the author, is like film journalist, is also a film programmer as well for New York Indian Film Festival as well, which happens in May. I think May, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
May. So it happens in May. So you should check it out that as well. And the next guest is Dhruv Goyal, is the who is the I think the runner, yes, the editor and runner
Runner.
of the a podcast called Queen
Okay.
is Dead. So yes, and I'm quite excited to hear anything which Queen is Dead comes up to. So yes, शुरू करते हैं. But before that, please do subscribe to my channel if you are watching this video. And without further ado, let's start with Aseem. Your first three picks, like भी अगर आपको like 10 9 8 जैसे जाना है तो that also is works. If you don't want to work on a chronological order, that also works. कुछ भी चलेगा like वैसे. So first
So
three
I, yeah. First of all, thanks for having me, Sanket. Um, so I just wrote an article which was published like 2, 3 days ago on Read It, where I listed my 10 picks of international films, and um, it becomes difficult. I mean, there are some films that I really like a lot, and I definitely want them in list, and then there are others that you struggle with, and there are some you end up keeping out because I wanted a representation of different areas also. So, um, my number 10 is a film. It's actually a documentary called Mother of All Lies. It's from Morocco, and it was at Cannes. It won the on a certain regard the Best Director award. It also won the Golden Eye award at Cannes, and then it was at the Mumbai Film Festival also. I just about a month ago I was at the Jeddah Red Sea International Festival. I saw it there. Um, it's a fascinating documentary because it's about a the filmmaker. It's her life story and her family story, but and then it deals with political protests, and there were repression and things like that. What she does is with her father, she builds a whole set of the neighborhood. It's like a doll's house kind of a creation, and she makes these little puppets of all the characters, including her grandmother, her mother, other neighbors, and that's how the story is told. Um, very artistically done, and it's quite a harrowing story, but it's beautifully done. So it's called Mother of All Lies. Um, so yeah,
Okay. The next pick, like
so Mother of All
we'll go
Lies.
three, like first three of yours,
Yeah,
then Dhruv, and then फिर मेरा. वैसे, so the next one.
yeah, and also by the way, Mother of All Lies has also been shortlisted for the Oscar
Oh,
in the
wow.
documentary section. Um, Uske baad, I came up with which actually is a film that I think is going to get the best international film Oscar. I'm almost sure about it. It's called Zone of Interest. Uh,
Yes.
Holocaust stories tend to appeal to Hollywood because the Academy members often tend to be older. They're white. They're Jewish, and many Holocaust. But this is probably one of the most interesting and most disturbing Holocaust films where you actually don't see the Holocaust happening. It's told from the perspective of the man who runs the Auschwitz prison, the Auschwitz concentration camp, and his wife and the family, and their beautiful house, which is right next to Auschwitz. So you don't see Auschwitz, but you hear sounds of engines and trains pulling up at night, which so all these Jews are being brought there. You see smoke from the chimneys, while at the same time this family is focused on parties and beautiful gardens, and all the kids go to the beach or something. It's a harrowing, uh,
Oh,
brilliant but harrowing, and it's almost like a horror film where you know something is going to happen. You know something is going to happen, but you don't see it happening. So very, very well made. And it's Jonathan Glazer who made Sexy
Hmm.
Beast, fantastic filmmaker. So I put that at number 9 because it was tough to rank them, but I think it's going to win the. My feeling is it should win. And my next film is number 8 is Oppenheimer, which I think is I wouldn't say it's Christopher Nolan's best film, but it's really his most spectacular, intellectually spectacular film. And this one is going to get the best picture. I am absolutely sure. And Christopher Nolan is winning the best director. There comes a time in some filmmakers' career. I mean, given the fact that Christopher Nolan has made so many films, but there comes a time where it's like it took them a very long time to give Martin Scorsese an Oscar also.
Hmm. Hmm.
That they have to, and this is a film that appealed to a lot of people, critics also. So
Yeah.
so those are my three films at
Not
top.
But
Killers of the Flower
you
Moon,
know,
sir, as the best pick for film at the
I'm saying
Oscars.
again.
Not Killers of the Flower Moon at for best picture
Well, I mean,
at the
it
Oscars.
all depends.
Hmm.
Um, I think Killers of the Flower Moon is a brilliant film,
Hmm.
and very, very well made. I have a feeling this is Christopher Nolan's year.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah,
fair
yeah.
enough. Actually, Aseem, there's a comment for you. So there's a friend Amartya, like Dhruv and as friend,
Mhm.
वो बोलते हैं कि Mother of All Lies reminds him of Synecdoche, New York for some reason.
Except
Do
for
you
I've
agree?
not seen that film. I've been. This is my. It's in my list for years and years. But that's interesting. I really should watch
Mhm.
it. Yeah,
Mhm.
That's great.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
over to you, Dhruv. आपके first three picks.
Yes, so I guess first one will be not I'm not sure controversial, but I know this film was very divisive. It still is very divisive. Is Infinity Pool by Brandon Cronenberg, which some people really hate. I know. I've been told about it a lot. Ki, why do you like it so much? And I think there's one answer for that is Mia Goth. Mia Goth is phenomenal in this film. Like she's become popular recently doing horror films for A24, which is X and Pearl. I think are the two big ones in which she became popular. But in Infinity Pool, I think she's. I am a fan of like that sort of acting where someone is completely committing to being like not being ashamed of being almost stupidly over the top. And I think Mia Goth properly goes for it. And I think one of the good things about Infinity Pool was it was one of the few Eat the Rich narratives, at least this year, that I saw where it really committed to being nasty. And and it was kind of funny about it also. So I kind of really liked that angle of it. Again, not everyone's taste, I know, but if you're into really sick films, I suppose you could. Yes, I know Amartya really doesn't like it.
It's
So
Hotel California just made into a movie. Okay.
I also think it's, but I think the I really like the conceit of American tourists or whatever European tourists going to quote unquote a poor country and then basically benefiting from them without actually ever engaging with them. Like I think that concept is very good, and how Brandon Cronenberg integrates the science fiction element into it about cloning and all this is very interesting also, and it ties in very well into the whole eat the rich sort of narrative. So I think I think it's more than just the gimmick also. Like I kind of like how the plot dynamics work. So that's number 10. Number 9 is the Plains by David Eastiel. This is on Mubi. I think all movie platforms have, like, it's a movie production. So it's like a docu-fiction sort of thingy. So it's like a Kiarostami. It takes inspiration from Kiarostami and your Chantal Ackerman, who made Jean Dilleman
Hmm.
and everything. So it's about this worker who, like, we follow this worker. I don't know if Sankeet, I think you might not appeal with this because it's properly slow cinema in terms of
नहीं यार
cameras
मैंने द
fixed.
डेलिंक्वेंट्स देखी है तो चलो कोई बात नहीं वैसे
This is
लाइक
slower
इट्स
than that, and there is
अरे
less
बाप रे
action in it. So it's basically a camera's fixed at the back of a car, and 5 o'clock every day you follow these two people. not two people. One person is going in a car. Sometimes he has a passenger with him who's the film's director, and it's basically about how people connect over like a commute. It's like a traffic essentially, peak hour in Australia once you're traveling, and then it's about how these two people initially, like, they engage in like small talk, but like over the time you see how they start to have really meaningful conversations with each other. And it's very I don't want to say experimental, because you've seen sort of sort of stuff before, but like it was really, I was surprised by how much I was into, the 3 hours of it, of just watching a person's life unfold, and I actually like felt I really got to know him and the director as a result. So I think that is number 9 for me. And number 8 is, I think this will appear on Sanket's list, because we had talked about this. Falcon Lake by Charlotte Lavon. Uh, which nahi hai? Okay, never mind.
नहीं,
I really like Falcon Lake, which is a coming of age story fashioned as a ghost story, which I think is a really good like concept. I think, and I think it really captures what I think something like Call Me by Your Name is also a very vibes movie. I think like it's a very summer vibes movie, and I think this also captures the vibe of going to a holiday home, feeling, and whatever you feel for the first time in adolescence, is sort of that awkwardness that comes when you discover affections for someone else, and all the interactions between the characters felt incredibly real in that sense. But also, the whole ghost story aspect of it feels like a thriller. It feels like everything might just tip over into horror territory at any moment. And I think that's a great balancing act. And this is her first film, and she was an actor, so like a very very cinematic film for an actor to make also. Like, it doesn't feel like in an actor's
okay.
film as such. So yes,
Okay,
yeah,
that's great
those are
actually.
few. Yeah.
But yeah, actually, so I would like to apologize to Asim because क्योंकि यहाँ पे ऐसा होने वाला है कि थोड़े बहुत सारे फिल्म्स ऐसे होने वाले कि जो ऑलरेडी असीम के लिस्ट में है. मैंने लाइक आई
Achha.
वेंट टू असीम्स
That's
लिस्ट.
okay.
That's okay.
सो बट
That's okay.
दैट्स ओके. बट लाइक मतलब वही था कि लाइक दीज ये सब तो यार मेरी लिस्ट है जो असीम के लिस्ट में ऑलरेडी है वैसे. सो
मैंने
लाइक
चुरा लिया तुम्हारी लिस्ट से without looking at your list.
yes, so yes, the first one is so ये actually मैंने list में process ज्यादा encourage नहीं करता, पता नहीं खुद से, लेकिन I still try to make it so like the top 10 kind of a thing. I just randomly 10 films which I love. So the first one is Past Lives. Past Lives, I watched this film in Mami, and uh, तभी इतना मुझे इतना अच्छा लगा नहीं था. बट ओवर द टाइम, ओवर द मंथ्स, ओवर द वीक्स, आई गॉट टू नो मोर अबाउट दैट फिल्म. इट ग्रू इन मी बिकॉज द कंटेंट इन दैट फिल्म इज क्वाइट लाइक हम सभी के लाइफ्स में ऐसा चीज एटलीस्ट लाइक वो लाइक 20s के ऊपर के लोग वाले लोग स्पेशली उन लोग के लिए ये स्पेशली काफी अच्छा रहेगा बिकॉज दे हैव एक्सपीरियंस, दे माइट हैव एक्सपीरियंस दिस इन देयर लाइफ एज वेल. कि कोई इंसान जो पहले मिले थे लेकिन इतने सालों बाद फिर से मिल रहे हैं और उनका लाइक टू मच रिलेटेबल. सो उसी की वजह से और इतने बेहतरीन तरीके से दिखाना, जस्ट इट्स मोर अबाउट द कन्वर्सेशन बिटवीन टू पीपल और एंड द थर्ड वन बीइंग एन ऑकवर्ड पर्सन in that conversation, and it's so much beautifully shot. And that's the reason मैंने ये फिल्म को ज्यादा बार देखा नहीं, सिर्फ एक ही बार जब मामी ईयर ऑन प्रोग्राम के स्क्रीनिंग में था तभी देखा था. दैट्स इट. बिकॉज आई बिलीव कि जो अगर अच्छे फिल्म्स है भी तो थोड़े अच्छे कम बार देखो. सो इट्स क्वाइट गुड टू just cherish the memory what you have seen. So I believe in that. So that's
I've
the
seen it
reason.
3 times.
Oh my god. So
I
I'll
really need to.
get back to you
I
regarding your like view on that, on this
I'm
film.
really out of touch on the past lives ka love. I really don't click with it. So it's
That's okay.
interesting that it's yeah.
That's
Yeah.
perfectly okay. And third time I was dragged by a friend. She hadn't seen it,
Okay.
so I went to see
Okay.
it. I didn't
Fair
have to see it
enough.
the third time. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
It's okay. But yes, the second one is slow. So which I have watched this in Mami 2023,
Hmm.
and I don't know, मतलब यहाँ इस फिल्म के बारे में मैंने कहाँ से सुना था, बट इट्स ओके, मैंने सुना और फिर जाके लेट्स लाइक आई वेंट फॉर दिस फिल्म जस्ट अबाउट लाइक इसका प्रेमाइज भी ज्यादा मैंने पढ़ा नहीं था, जस्ट
Hmm.
गॉट टू नो दैट this film is about exploring the sexuality of two people and two people exploring these things in Lithuania. So
Hmm.
I was all in for that, and then I went to this film, and I also discussed this film with Aseem as well. जब भी हम लोग ने वीडियो बना था about post Mami
Hmm.
films which we have watched, and I loved how they लाइक उसमें उन लोग ने पूरे रोमांस को शूट किया है बिग, और ज्यादा लाइक एक एक कैरेक्टर को बिना रोमांस दिखाए, लाइक एक रोमांटिकली इन्वॉल्व दिखाने के, लाइक उन्होंने एक कैरेक्टर को बिना ज्यादा रोमांस दिखाते हुए, तो उन लोग ने कितना अच्छे से वो चीज दिखाई है. आई
Hmm.
वॉन्ट डेफिनेटली वॉन्ट टू अपलॉड ऑन दैट पर्टिकुलर एस्पेक्ट, एंड दैट पर्टिकुलर एस्पेक्ट एक्चुअली क्वाइट टच्ड मी कि अगर एक लव स्टोरी है तो वन साइडेड अगर रहती है तो कैसे चल सकती है और कितने हद तक चल सकती है. सो इट्स क्वाइट अबाउट दैट, एंड आई जस्ट लव्ड हाउ दे shown that, and I
Is this Lithuania का Oscar
Yes,
Lithuanian,
selection?
yes.
yeah, it's from
Okay.
Lithuania. I don't know ये इस बार ऑस्कर्स के लिए तो पता नहीं.
It
I
has,
thought,
it's not been shortlisted.
oh,
No.
Okay,
but
it's not been
like,
shortlisted. Okay.
but
Hmm.
you know, guys, actually, this film was the talk of the festival. Like everyone was talking about this film. I went on a weekend, but
Hmm.
everyone was talking about this film कि यार ये देखो, love, sorry, slow देखो, people would
Hmm.
love it. और लोगों ने देखी, but still, I don't know, it was the Lithuanian entry to the Oscars or not, but still,
It
It's a
was.
people,
very
it was,
stern
but
competition
like.
also, no, I think, or even in terms of other
Hmm,
films, maybe. I don't know.
let's see. I don't know.
Yeah.
इसलिए तो. So the
It's
next one.
yeah, sorry, go ahead. No,
No,
no, I
no,
was
no.
about to say the international, that's a very, I always feel it's a very strange way. Firstly, how you have to market your movie to, even get to that international film ka slot, and then within that, some films are more exposed because of certain film festivals than others. And so, I mean, there's so much, I think it's very hard actually for some of these films to make it through the shortlist. So, yeah.
Okay, but yes, the third one, completely agree with that, Dhruv.
Yeah.
So the third one is Cocaine Bear, which I,
Oh,
which was lit for me. Like
okay.
that was okay.
That is, yeah,
Some
that's very
अलग
big
level. Like
surprise. I was like,
लोगों को उस फिल्म की like उस फिल्म को ज्यादा पसंद, like love नहीं दिया था. But
yeah.
when it released in February, I got to watch that film.
Hmm.
From the starting point itself, और वो जो फ्रेम like उन लोग सेट करते कि it's about a bear who is high on cocaine, and he like वो पूरा अफरा तफरी मचा देता है लोगों के बीच
Mhm.
में. और it's so much fun. I had so much fun watching that film. I couldn't say much about that film because और actually ये film February में आई थी, so I can't recall much about this film. But वही था कि वो फिल्म के को कहने का पर्पस भी यही था कि like अगर in like एनिमल्स के साथ क्या क्या कर सकते हैं, सो क्या क्या हो सकता है, लाइक लोग एक्चुअली, आई थिंक वो थोड़ा सिंबोलिज्म मुझे ऐसा लगा था, लाइक बैक इन February.
मैंने तो
आई
फिल्म
कैंट.
देखी नहीं थी क्योंकि सबने कहा था कि बुरी है. But
Okay, so Amartya is a friend, and he tells that उसको uh, कचरा भी, like the me movie के basis में भी कचरा है sir. So I don't know, but मुझे अच्छी लगी, like मुझे I had fun, and even everyone in the theater had actually had fun watching this film. Even some of my friend even like it, but still
Mhm.
like लोगों के opinions हो सकते हैं,
Of course, so, yes, yeah.
definitely. Yes, so these were my three picks. So Asim, coming back to you, your next three, कौन से थे?
So we'll go with now. We did 10, 9, and 8, right? So
Yeah,
7, 6, and 5.
that's right.
So, Dhruv, so the film that you asked me why it will not win the.
Oscar,
So
yeah.
I put Killers of Flower Moon, number 7.
Yeah.
I think it's a fantastic film. I mean, I think it's. I actually have not been excited about Martin Scorsese's last two films. Wall Street
Okay.
did not work for me, and Irishman was too draggy, and but this
Mhm.
was a stunning film in terms of first of all, the story itself. I mean, I didn't know anything about this piece of American history,
Mhm.
and it's made in such a brilliant manner, and performances. All the lead top performances.
Mhm.
It's quite a stunner.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, this is I think it's Christopher Nolan's year, because otherwise Martin Scorsese deserves another Oscar at some point very soon,
Mhm.
because he's I think 80 plus. So
Yes,
I don't know how many more.
he turned 80 right now, like this year.
Yeah, but the problem is that this one, Killers of the Flower Moon, cost $200 million, and it
Mhm.
made not even half of that, even though
Mhm.
Apple funded it. It's getting harder and harder. एक तो उसकी विजन इतनी होती है ना, 3-3 घंटे की फिल्में बनाता है,
Yeah.
and 3.5-4 घंटे की फिल्में बनाता है, and he doesn't stop in terms of the scale of the film.
Yeah.
Um, you can look at it; it's very expensive. All the sets that have been created, this huge cast. Um, it cost a lot of money. There was first
Yeah.
talk and nobody's going to fund him. Then Apple stepped in to fund it. So
Hmm.
dekho. I mean,
But
I think
I'm
it's
pretty. But aren't you sure, sir, that like I feel Apple probably knew that it's not going to make that much money, also, right? Like I suppose, because Oppenheimer's success is the most baffling, in a positive way, thing for me. I'm like, this this cynical movie doing this well on in a, like, making $1 billion versus, I think, three Killers of the Flower Moon may, there's, like, again, as you said, the pacing is also very much, it's not Oppenheimer's cut like anything, but in Killers of the Flower Moon, I feel it's almost impossible for me to
well,
imagine that people will go and watch it also. Yeah.
yeah. So Amratya's
Yeah.
point is true. Apple's a
Mhm.
huge company in terms of its financial worth. Um, I well, Oppenheimer, I don't think made $1 billion. It was Barbie that made $1 billion.
Yes,
No,
Oppenheimer
I
was
think
absolutely.
released.
Oppenheimer touched billion in, like, I think, worldwide, if I'm not wrong,
Yeah, but
or
Barbie
something
made
close
it
to it.
much faster,
Yes,
which I
yes,
Hmm.
cannot
yes.
understand at all. I mean, it was an interesting film, but I was pretty bored watching Barbie. Um, but I think anyway, because I personally think Oppenheimer, when you use the word cynical, I think it's
Hmm.
a really very interesting reflection of America and American politics, and how sometimes a person has a lot of talent, and for whatever reason, and the way he was suppressed. I mean, the way he
Hmm.
was um literally, I mean, witch hunting ho gayi thi uske against. So
Yes,
I thought
yes.
that was,
Hmm.
anyway. Both films are very good, but let's see.
Yeah.
Hmm.
My
But
next one in
even
the list.
yes, I'm so sorry, but there is a comment regarding the funding which Apple did. But so Apple is like doing what Netflix used to do until a few years ago, with even the same guy actually who made Killers of the Flower Moon, Martin
Hmm.
Scorsese, right?
Yeah.
So like they used to back up
Exited that
filmmakers
prestige
like
wala market, I think, Apple, after not winning an Oscar for best film.
But then Netflix has also, lost its followers and lost money, and now it's
Yeah.
becoming much, much more careful. And
Mhm.
Netflix, in terms of the scale, the number of films they make, and the library that they have, I mean, it's Apple doesn't have any of that really. Apple just
Yep.
has a few shows or something. Anyway,
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
Yep.
my next two films, very few people have seen in India, because they were not shown in any festival.
Hmm.
So my next one is Poor Things, which I saw it at a festival in
Hmm.
in the US, in Telluride. It's a visually beyond stunning film. It's like this mad brain of Yargos Lanthimos, really, where it's a sort of it is a Frankenstein kind of story about this girl
Hmm.
who's created by this man, and then she becomes human, and she wants to live like a human life. But the set design, the costumes, the madness around it, and superb performance by Emma Stone, and all of them, Willem Dafoe, but Mark Ruffalo is very good. Um, so Poor Things, whenever it comes, I mean, the colors, are the vibrancy, and they built all the sets. If you Google or you go on YouTube, they built all the sets. So it's not that they were depending on CGI and VFX and all of those kind of things. I'm sure there was
Hmm.
VFX used, but they built a lot of sets, which made it really fantastic. So it's quite a feat. Poor Things. Um, And the next film which I have, which I think it's really heartbreakingly beautiful, that again people in India have not seen yet. It's called All of Us Strangers, which
Oh,
also I saw on Telluride,
Andrew
which is
Hine.
a so Andrew Haig's film, and Andrew Haig has made a couple of other gay stories. Well, Weekend was, and then he did the
Weekend.
Looking Show, and then he's dealt with all sort of emotional issues. Um, what's really, I mean, first of all, it's a very beautiful, sexy story about these two men, and they meet in a building which is a brand new building where very few people, only two of them are living. So this relationship, but the other parallel story which makes it even more interesting is about this guy Adam, the main character, who one day just takes off, gets in a train, and goes to his parents' house. I'm not giving away that this is even the headlines, etc. He goes to his parents' house. His parents died when he was 12 years old, and they died in an accident. And he meets his parents' ghost, and they are there at the time in the mid 80s when he was a kid, and now he's grown up to an adult. And it's like, when you're not able to say goodbye to your parents, and you don't have, you're not able to have a sense of what it was like as you grown up. It's him reconnecting with his parents through the ghosts, and them looking at him as a grown up adult, um, and him coming out to his parents. It's such a stunning, based on Japanese novel, so I don't know how much has there been changed for the film. All of Us Strangers is just absolutely, um, so
Yeah.
Paul Mescal, and what's the guy's name? Andrew, the one who was the
Andrew
hot priest
Scott,
in
Hot
Fleabag. Andrew
Priest,
Scott, yeah,
yes.
yeah, the
Yeah,
hot priest, yeah.
Hot Priest.
They just they're actually very hot together. So those are my next three films.
Next week. Very well. Okay, Dhruv, आपके अगले
I mean, I,
तीन.
I wish I had seen Poor Things. I'm really dying to see Poor Things, especially. But my seventh one is a documentary, but I would say it's not a conventional documentary because I think it's like an experiential sort of thing, which is it's Smoke Sauna Sisterhood by
Oh,
Anna
I want to see
Haynes.
that. Mhm.
It's really, really good. So I think one of the great things about I actually think it's one of the best directed films of the year, bar none. I think in just in terms of, I think women talking was fairly controversial with a lot of people. I mean, I remember liking it, but there were a lot of I mean, visually it was not good. I thought, and I think. It had a sort of didacticism to it, which jo I thought was a problem a little bit. But this is that with like visual experimentation almost. It's like in Smokes on a Sisterhood is the Estonian submission, I think, for the Oscars, and it might be going for both international film and documentary. And I think she won Best Director at Sundance, if I'm not wrong. So it's about Estonia. They have this tradition where people basically go and wash away, the women especially go and wash away their shame and their sins as such. In this in this sauna house, and basically using they are basically spending time in nature and I would say nurturing each other in many ways of listening to the other person's trauma essentially. But the and I don't think this is much of a spoiler as such because it happens like very early on in the film. The identities of the women or whoever's participating is kept hidden in a spectacularly beautiful way. Like you hear their voices, you like see their skins in some senses, but you don't see their faces, and it makes the whole experience really hypnotic, or more hypnotic than it would be if it was a conventional documentary. And I think it's one of the really it's like it feels therapeutic but not in a really saccharine way. Like it feels genuinely like someone wants you to experience what this experience might actually be like. So I think it's really spectacular. Number six is the only quote unquote blockbuster film I have in my top 10 is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Uh,
Excellent choice.
yes, by
That's
Joaquin Dos Santos, Justin K. Thompson, and Kemp Powers. It's. I mean, I think I've realized how much of a sucker I am for animation in general, and the animation itself in this film is out of this world.
Yep.
Like the mix of styles that is there. I mean, the Gwen Stacy watercolor thing, whatever they're doing with that, and I need to watch the film again, is just absolutely mind-bogglingly good. So I think, but the one issue I had with the first film was slightly narrative related. Like I thought the narrative, even though it was trying to challenge some things, it treaded a little too familiar ground. This one totally explodes that. Like I think this like is going as hard as you can to knock the canon as it were, and it really goes against Spider-Man in a sense. And I think that's the narrative itself is very interesting, and I think I'm unsure if the third part can match it narratively, the second one, because you have to find a resolution, and you will probably find something which is nicer and not radically challenging in that sense. But yeah, I was thrilled by this. It's not a typical Spider-Man story at all, in the sense that it's actually, it almost feels like an origin story for Gwen Stacy, and then you have a Spider-Man story going on or by the side. So I think it's a very rich movie in terms of both style and substance, which I think is a big
Can I
thing.
just
Yeah.
just say,
Yes.
I would have loved to have included that in my top 10. I wish I could have. And the other big blockbuster that I thoroughly enjoyed, but I couldn't find room for it, was John Wick 4. Um, and I've been a fan of John Wick films, but I actually saw all three of them before I went to see the fourth one
Oh
and
wow.
loved it so much.
Yeah.
But I couldn't find space to put them in my top 10. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
I,
So that's it's it. Oh no, no, one more, right? Okay. Yeah.
yes.
So my fifth is Showing Up by Kelly Reichardt. I'm a Reichardt fan. I think I've professed it a lot of times. Again, I don't know if it's an easy recommendation, because I actually think this is her least. Um, I would like to say even whatever. I know she's not high on narrative, but this is lighter than that also,
yeah,
in general. And but I am just a big fan of her ability to sit quietly and observe minor details and sort of build her narratives from that. And in this, there were certain details in the second watch, that sort of kind of made it appear really in a way which I never thought of it in the first watch I had. So essentially, it's about like a sculptor who's has an exhibition coming up for her, and she basically has everything going against her in that whole week, and she's very grumpy and frazzled, and Michelle Williams is fantastic playing that role here. Like I think I never clicked with her in Fablemans. I thought her performance was super over emphatic in that, and in this I really I think she's back in her Rijkaard zone. And Hong Chow is there, who's her main quote unquote rival. But again, everything's very understated, and it's very hard to talk about this film without making it sound really boring, which it might anyways appear to a lot of people. But yeah, there are some really amazing touches to it in terms of how it uses some metaphors in a very wonderful way. It's not doing it as what that. So I think they use a pigeon essentially as one of the big symbols in the film, and they use it in a way which I think serves a lot of purpose. uh, no, it's not
Yes.
the best strike card, 100%. I mean, I really like other Rijkaard, but I mean, Showing Up,
I think First
I,
Cow was just absolutely brilliant.
First
Um,
Cow, and then Certain Women is also like she's a
But
very
this is
accomplished director.
I'm very impressed by, sorry for cutting you, but I'm very, very impressed that you picked the film. I would not pick it at all, but,
Yeah.
but I'm
No,
glad you
I
picked it. Yeah.
understand. No, but it's one of those. I was surprised because I know when it released in Cannes last year, the buzz
I
was
saw it there.
cold
Yeah.
on it, and then I think when it released in the US, I watched it in conjunction with Beau is Afraid, which I am not a fan of at all. So I think
Very
I
few
was like,
people are. Mhm.
different spectrum of yeah. Boy is Afraid is not, unless Sanket you have it on your list, but it is
नहीं नहीं, वो
at
नहीं
the
है मैंने
background.
आर्य
Okay.
अस्तर की आज तक नहीं सिर्फ एक देखी थी लेकिन लाइक हेरिडिटरी मैंने बहुत सालों पहले देखी थी मैं भूल गया था तो
अरे वो
Okay.
दूसरी वाली उसकी बड़ी अच्छी थी,
Midsommar.
मिड सॉमर,
मिडसॉमर यस वो भी
वेरी
अब तक मेरा
इमेजिनेटिव एंड टेरिफाइंग.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
ओके देखी नहीं
Yeah.
लेकिन यस बट यस ओके सो माय नेक्स्ट like 654 I would say,
Mm-hmm.
right?
No,
No, no, no,
765.
seven, seven, six.
765. I'm so sorry.
Mm-hmm.
765. The seventh one is Air. Uh, I loved Air. Like
Mm-hmm.
मैं बोल सकता हूँ कि अब एक ब्लॉकबस्टर नहीं थी ये क्योंकि it was a direct to Amazon release, but a perfect way to start the American summers because like it released kind of जब भी अप्रैल मई में रिलीज हुई थी तभी समर जो स्टार्ट होने से पहले um, I'm a sports fan. I love baseball. I would like to say that. और I like how like वो जो sports world में back story में क्या क्या होता है कैसे होता है and I love because अभी we got to know like right now baseball में ही सबसे like the biggest sports signing in American or not in world sports history. So there was a 700 and something $1 million deal signed by a team from Los Angeles. So they signed a Japanese superstar, and I actually got to relate to that particular thing, a news which came out by this film because I know कि उन लोग ये स्पोर्ट्स साइनिंग और स्पोर्ट्स एजेंट्स उन लोग उसके इस चीज के बारे में वहाँ पे बात नहीं कर रहे थे लेकिन आई गॉट टू नो लाइक उसमें पता चल रहा था कि उन लोग कितना स्ट्रगल कर रहे थे कि जस्ट अबाउट हाउ टू साइन दैट पर्टिकुलर like that particular thing like sorry I'm so sorry that particular person who is like इतना popular भी जब भी नहीं था लेकिन just build a sports thing around him and कैसे like it got famous like मुझे इसकी बैक
There
स्टोरी
was
जरा भी
about
नहीं पता थी
Nike
but
air boots, no, something like that. I have
yes, absolutely.
yeah.
So it's about Nike and the whole team behind that, led by Matt Damon's character and then Phil Knight, who's brilliantly played by Ben Affleck, who also directed the film. So it's about those people getting like convincing Michael Jordan and his family per se. Like उसमें मतलब यहाँ पे like
दिखाते
इतनी
नहीं है
अच्छी
ना,
थी
I
कि
think,
उन लोग
from whatever
sorry
I know. माइकल जॉर्डन को दिखाते नहीं है, right? It's
नहीं
like
इन लोग
behind the
माइकल
scenes.
जॉर्डन को नहीं दिखाते हैं लाइक एंड तक नहीं जस्ट इट्स अबाउट हाउ अफ्रीकन अमेरिकन पीपल्स कल्चर के उन लोग पहले अगर लाइक छोटे इन इंडिया अर्ली लाइक लेट टीन्स अर्ली 20s उन लोग अगर रहते तो दे उन लोग अपने पहले पेरेंट्स की परमिशंस लेते लाइक उनकी मम्मी या
Okay.
पापा अप्रूव करते और फिर जाके दे डू समथिंग काइंड ऑफ वेरी मेजर टू दैट
Sure.
सो so उसी की वजह से I just loved the flow of that film just amazing and I found it quite engaging I like from the start and till the end वैसे so yes I have like I have a comment from अमर्त्य संकेत sir for को 80s के jukebox बहुत पसंद है I wonder how much did it cost to get all the rights of the songs in the film हाँ यार ये हर 80s के जो मिक्स jukebox songs रहते हैं और वैसे फिल्म्स में आते हैं बहुत अच्छा बहुत मजा आता है लाइक इट एंटरटेनिंग फैक्टर उसमें बढ़ जाता है एटलीस्ट मेरे लिए तो मजा आ जाता है इसलिए वो मैं रखता हूँ बट यस देयर इज अ कमेंट फ्रॉम Abhinandan as well, who's a guest, who's one of the guests in the previous podcast, and he's in sports PR and he connects with the film so well. Absolutely, क्योंकि वो sports world में ऐसे सारी चीजें होती है इसलिए. So I liked that particular film. So the next one is okay. I don't think ये film आप लोग को पसंद आया होगा या फिर आप लोग के लिस्ट में दूर दूर तक नहीं होगा लेकिन मुझे काफी
तो
अच्छा
आपने
एंगेजिंग
कोकेन बेर
लगा
बोल दिया तो आई थिंक अब तो सब अलाउड है.
Why you apologizing, यार?
और क्या?
so ये है गाय रिचीज द कोवेनेंट so it's
I haven't seen it, so yeah.
I've not seen it
yes
also. मेरा
Guy
Guy
Ritchie
Ritchie after Gentleman is मेरा turn off हुआ हुआ है. But I've heard Covenant is good.
Covenant
Actually.
is good.
हाँ.
Absolutely.
हाँ.
क्योंकि and by the way, Gentleman, the Netflix is coming up with the Gentleman's
Series.
with the series. Yes.
I know. I
So
will
I'm
avoid
excited
series.
because मुझे Gentleman as a film भी बहुत अच्छी लगी थी. But
Yeah.
yes, this film, it's not unlike any other, like not like any other वो Guy Ritchie वाली film जिसमें mafia is
Yeah.
involved. Everyone is like like the stakes are so much high. वो सारे वो mafia world वाले stakes.
Mhm.
Here in this film, it's a based on true events and true story of two people whom there's a tribal who like this. Yes, there's a tribal Afghan tribal who rescues this person who is also a translator, by the way, of that person. Uh, yes, and rescues that person, and he what he does is like he मतलब वो उसको अपनी जान पे खेल के वहां पे उस बंदे को बचाता है और दोनों तालिबान के लिए लाइक दे आर द मोस्ट वांटेड पीपल इन दैट पर्टिकुलर टाइम.
Okay.
सो
Yeah.
लाइक उन लोग दोनों कैसे अपने तरीके से और जस्ट इट्स अबाउट दैट एज वेल. एंड इवन वो बचा भी लेता है और फिर एट द एंड व्हाट दे डू इज लाइक ये बंदा यूएस आ जाता है.
US. It is set in
यूएस
like it is the US cast, na, and everything. It's not his British thingy.
नो नो
Jake,
नो
Jake,
यूएस का.
Jake Gyllenhaal. In fact,
Huh.
you
Jake
started
Gyllenhaal,
talking about
right?
it. I suddenly realized actually I did see it.
Oh.
It's quite good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So yes, वो फिर जाके यूएस आता है और फिर he talks about के मतलब उसका वो जो PTSD and the post war like the post battle scenes and post even sorry वो जो trauma जो रहता है
Mhm.
it's quite good
Mhm.
which by the way is also shown in I think he was in some other film with Tobey Maguire and some and Natalie Portman as well. I think वो एक बहुत पुरानी फिल्म थी वैसे सिमिलर एक्टिंग थोड़ा
Jake Gyllenhaal.
झलक. यस जेक जिलन हॉल था या आई थिंक वही था लेकिन टोबी मैगवायर था उतना पता है. ब्रदर्स करके कोई तो था शायद से फिल्म. सो
Okay. Okay.
पॉसिबल लेकिन बट
Mhm.
यस
Yeah, yeah,
दिस.
brother. Yeah, which is a
Yes.
remake of a Dutch film, actually. Yeah.
Oh yes,
Okay.
that's the one. Correct. So yes, even Amartya agrees that Covenant is great. Serious Guy Ritchie, which is an interesting year. Absolutely, such में
Yeah.
यार. इसलिए तो yes, the next one is okay, yes, the fifth one. Okay,
Yes.
and so I'm so sorry. Yes, okay, okay, that's that one is Anatomy of a Fall, and which won the Palme d'Or award in this year's Cannes Film Festival. मैंने जब पहली बार देखा, it's okay, normal जैसे कोर्ट ड्रामा जैसा, but the like एक चीज जो लगी जो काफी यूनिक तो नहीं बोल सकते हर इसमें लगी थी, बट इट वाज क्वाइट एंगेजिंग फॉर मी बिकॉज उसी की वजह से मुझे वो फिल्म ज्यादा अच्छी लगी थी. एंड इट्स अबाउट अ वुमन स्ट्रगल, आई वुड से कि एक जर्मन वुमन्स स्ट्रगल टू बी ऑन अ ट्रायल ऑन इन अ फ्रेंच रीजन. और
Mhm.
उनकी कैसे जस्ट इट्स अबाउट कि यार मैं यहाँ पे एक यहाँ पे ये चीज तो हो रही है, यहाँ पे मैंने यहाँ पे मेरे पति के साथ कुछ तो हुआ है एक
Mhm.
लेकिन मैं अपने आप को कैसे बचाऊं. वो ऐसे इट्स
Yeah.
मेन लाइक मोर अबाउट हर स्ट्रगल एज वेल. सो
Yeah.
आई लव दैट एस्पेक्ट ऑफ दैट फिल्म. सो
Mm.
that's actually
Mm.
we made a detailed video also Aseem, so
Yes,
on
which
that.
Sanket thought that he's inviting two fans of the film, but I mean I like the film. I just think I am
No, I liked it
after
also. Yeah, yeah.
yeah after
Okay.
after the midway point I think I like it. Well, I don't like it less. I just am less interested in it because I know which side of the case I am with. I'm like I've selected my person. Like I was on the side of Sandra Huller, not ki if I wasn't probing her that much, which is my issue. But anyways, we had another guest who didn't like it at all somehow. So I'm
But
like,
I
okay,
yes.
actually, I thought I thought the film because a lot more interesting and a lot more disturbing when they involve the kid, and when they
Hmm.
separate the kid from the mother, it becomes very, very.
Yes. Hmm.
It's a tough film
Hmm.
at that point, really. And then the
Aseem,
mother.
yeah, go ahead, sorry, I'm so sorry.
Hmm.
No, and just in the end, when the mother son sort of reconciliation, you know, sort of there's been a problem now, which will take a while to heal, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Correct, correct.
Yeah.
You know, Aseem, आपने mention अभी किया था कि you loved Zone of Interest, right? So, and even you have seen this one as well, Anatomy of a Fall. There's a question for you. Do you think Justine Triet has a chance to be nominated for an Oscar for Best Actress for
Not
I
Justin
Anatomy of
Treat
a
was
Fall?
the
Sandra
director.
Huller.
Sorry,
Oh,
Sandra Buller.
Sandra Bullock. Yes,
Um,
he got confused. Yes, yes.
there's a strong chance that Sandra Buller will get nominated for Best
Anatomy, I think.
Actress. Yeah, for Anatomy. Yeah, more Anatomy. I think Zone of Interest is a bigger story as such.
Hmm.
Um,
Zone of Interest might get a nomination to Jonathan Glazer, I guess. I'm not
Zone
sure.
of Interest is going to win the Best International Film. Mark my words.
Yeah. No, no, I saw it, but I'm very conflicted about it. I want to watch it again. So,
Yeah,
yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyways, but no, no, yeah.
I was, I was going to say
I'm
something, but
not
it
sure.
slipped my mind. Yeah.
No, no,
Have you guys
I'm
seen
not sure.
Tony? Have you seen Sandra Buller's Tony Erdman?
Tony
Right, the one
Erdman,
on
yeah,
Yes,
yeah, yeah.
German film.
She's
Yes.
great in
funniest
that
thing I've
also.
watched, man. That
Yes.
movie is
Yeah, yeah.
hilarious.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
Proper cringe comedy, I remember. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so yes, the next three, Asim,
All right,
and
next three.
then the golden pick. But next three from you.
Okay, so next three are um, number four is a Mexican film, which Totem, which it did get shortlisted, which I'm very, very happy about. I think Totem showed at Mami also, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, beautiful, 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 beautiful film. Really, it's just such a. Did you guys see it?
I saw it. Yeah,
Yeah,
I saw it.
it's
Oh, you
it's
didn't
it's
like it,
it's
Sanket?
no
I
no.
नहीं
liked
अब
it.
तक देखी नहीं है मतलब
अच्छा देखी रही है. Okay.
hardly कुछ ऐसे
मुझे
हुआ था
बहुत
Okay.
पसंद आई थी and
Yeah.
I had missed it. I was at the Berlin Film Festival early this year and I missed it there and then kept missing and finally saw it and
Yeah.
it's such a beautiful from the child's perspective and the adults are going
Yeah.
around and there's a tragedy and there is family issues and in terms of his insurance
Mm-hmm.
and the girl simply cannot seem to understand why
Yeah.
she can't be with her father and it's done in such a warm glow the way it's shot also there are
Yeah.
oranges and yellows it's um I think Totem is
Yeah.
quite fantastic really
Mm-hmm.
okay
liked it a
Hmm.
lot my number
Number
see
three.
am I losing count now
No, number
Four,
okay
three.
three,
Number
two,
yeah
three.
four,
Number
three,
three.
okay
two,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
so Sanket you already mentioned number three I've got Slow there that film just absolutely stunned me that story just absolutely stunned me really
Mm.
because here you have a beautiful relationship between this couple and this man who's tall handsome everything and she's totally in love with him and he's a very wonderful caring
Mm.
partner and the fact that he's asexual I mean I never understood what asexuality is until I saw this film he just has
Mm.
no desire to have sex
Mm.
and it was a revelation that film really
Mm.
from that point of view. I mean, first of all, it's coming from Lithuania, so didn't know much about. I don't think I've seen any other Lithuanian film, but it's very European. It could have been a French film. It could have been,
Mhm.
a German film also. But I thought Slow was quite an experience really.
Am I
It
right to
reminded
assume
me
this
of.
is the? Sorry, go ahead. No, no.
Go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
I was about to only ask. Am I right in saying this is 82 minutes long, or is this some other movie I'm
Yeah, yeah, it's
thinking of?
quite short if I remember
Okay.
correctly. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I love 82 minutes because I always calculate. Okay, so it's 1 hour and only 12 minutes, so the badi jaldi khatam ho jayegi. But it grabs you. It
Yeah.
actually reminded me a lot of this film, which is it's still on movie, The Worst Person of the Year.
Bosch
Um,
pushing of the world.
in
Yes.
in terms of
Mm-hmm.
tone, in terms of you like the people, they're lovely together, and yet there is some flaw, and life just takes you in different directions,
Mm-hmm.
really.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that was my number three. My number two film, which I'm sorry, Dhruv, you said you didn't like it, as Sanket, you liked it. Past Lives is just unbelievable. The story. I mean, it's so simple, and it's so small, and it hits you. Um, I mean, I'm not saying I have a personal connection to it emotionally like
Mm-hmm.
that, but what what a challenge this woman goes through um, and she holds her emotions until the very end after his car leaves, and she just completely the dram just breaks out. I love the husband's character, how he's so understanding. It actually reminded me of the husband in Three of Us. I don't know if you've seen the Avinash Arul's
It's
film.
no,
which
haven't.
is releasing day
It's
after
coming
tomorrow on
tomorrow,
Netflix.
Yeah,
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
on Netflix. Yeah, so I thought
Mm,
Swaran Karkare.
mm.
I thought the Korean guy, he's just, despite the fact that he's had relationships and life has taken different. He's just, you cling on to your first love. Yeah, um,
Is this when they are in
yep,
bed?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So anyway, I love Past Lives. Yeah,
Mhm.
I was, I saw it for the third time because a friend wanted to see it and she hadn't seen it. And the second time I saw it, my mommy had the screening, and
Yeah.
before that, I had seen it at a festival. Um, I'll
No,
hold
but
the
I
last
mean,
one.
yeah,
Yes,
no, I mean,
last one is the
I'm
golden ticket.
totally out of touch with the past. Like, it's rare for me to be like this out of touch with the consensus. Like, I just felt it had. I just never felt anything that I think a lot of people are feeling. So
होता
clearly,
है
Did
जो
you
I.
read a lot about it? You heard a lot about it, probably. You went with lots of
Uh,
expectations.
I mean, but I think I went in expecting I like it. I suppose because I do like this sort of film. I just I might check it out once more, but I am also like very certain about like the issues I have. So, anyways, doesn't
होता
matter.
है
Okay.
क्योंकि
Yeah.
it's okay because what happened was last year people loved After Sun and I was the one who got
Oh
left
my
out.
God.
Yes. So this
After
this
Sun is
year it
very, very
happened to you,
special,
Dhruv.
yeah.
So this year it happened to Dhruv where people loved an emotionally heart touching film called Past Lives, but Dhruv actually hated it. But okay, but it's okay.
I was seeing the comment and I was like, this is just not true. So this is not
ध्रुव
true.
से रोमांटिक नहीं है उतना क्या करे.
Tragic
It's okay.
romance is something I'm a sucker for. Like you can give me that. I'm like, I go along with. I don't know, but anyways, I will.
Yes, your
But yeah,
next film.
in my list there isn't any romance, I suppose. So I there probably is some truth to what Amartya is saying. Number 4 is an Argentinian film, not The Delinquents, but Trenke Locken, if I hope I'm pronouncing it
Hmm.
right. It's okay. So this is the clincher. It's a 4 hour 22 minute film. So that
Oh
is
gosh.
like an epic runtime or whatever you want to say. One of the great things about I really like Delinquents also. So one of the great things about these Argentinian films and especially this film I think is how they feel like novels, films, and um, video games almost at some video games in the sense that open world video games where you feel like you're just roaming around in a town or a city and you get a feel of the place, the people, and what they are there. So I think Trenkilakan's really good that way, and one of the ways in which so it's divided into like chapters. So it's like you can pause at any time and sort of dip in and out of it in that sense. But it's got a really great sense of mood, and it's basically about this woman who disappears, and at the beginning of the film, and you have two people looking for her. And you get one version from one person, another version of the person from the other person, and then you get in the second part of the film her perspective. So like you get it's a very great way of showing how people view one person in like different ways, of course, and that allows the director Laura Citarella to just use different genres actually to communicate all this. Yeah, so it's like a mystery, then it becomes like a really romantic film, and then it becomes a science fiction horror film. Like the way it moves through all these things is really fascinating, and I think it's one of the few films which I've consistently been thinking about. It's available online now because it released on Apple TV Plus very recently.
Oh.
So if
Wait, but what
anyone
you
has,
saw, I'm sorry, but you just saw the part one. I'm just going on IMDb. Part one itself is 4 hours and 22
no, no,
minutes.
no, no, no. That's the whole film. Though they've it's part one is 2 hours, but they've listed it wrong there or something like
Acha,
that. No, no, no,
acha,
no. The
acha. I
whole
was going to say,
I won't. 8 hours is I don't know how much qualifies for a movie. Yes, no, no.
Unless
Only
it's
that's the whole thing.
unless it's Bellatar's film. but will.
No, Bertolucci is
Yeah,
1900 or 6 hours long.
Oh,
yeah, yeah. No, no, but I
oh
mean,
yes.
this is 4 hours 22. I don't know how to make this like convince people of this, but it doesn't feel, at least to me, that it feels, it doesn't feel that intimidating and long. Like because it's surprisingly light on its feet. Like it's not Bellatar. It's not like you're not wearing the burden of the world on your shoulders for like 5 6 7 hours. It feels like, it's mysterious is the best way, I think. Because it's a mystery, it feels always engaging. Like you're consistently, thinking and looking at clues and all that sort of. So yeah, that's my number four. Number three and number two are basically films which I saw last year, but they are official US releases this year, I think.
Hmm.
So I'm going to include them. You tell me if I'm wrong, but I do think I have categorized correctly.
You can do
The
whatever
third.
you want to. It's your list.
Okay, yeah. So third, no, I was told by Sanket to look at the American release thing, so I'm doing that. Third is RMN by Christian
Oh yes,
Monju, yeah, which is a Romanian, I think Romanian film, right?
yes.
Romanian.
And it's just explosively good. I feel drama about like xenophobia, European, especially xenophobia, and how that uh, corrupts, corrodes the sort of environment as a whole. The whole village has a certain point of view, and how it excludes a certain group of people. And I like again how I've not seen this side of Monju before, but like he integrates horror quite well in this. Like there is a proper horror atmosphere to the whole village. It feels like Transylvania is the name of the place, which automatically like evokes horror. Like the real life place is also, I think, called Transylvania, and it's just a gradual building of tension in some senses, and then it's also really got a amazing use of In the Mood for Love's soundtrack. I think it uses it really well as a counterpoint to a lot of the really really ugly things that are happening actually at the heart of the film. Like there's I think the whole 17-minute take will be the centerpiece, I suppose, for a lot of people. It's not but it's not like nothing is happening. Every That's the scene in which everyone basically meets at a council and like reveals what all they feel, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
really
Towards the end,
ugly
yeah.
and really you kind of get the idea of no one, like how much how xenophobic actually most of the people in the village are. So I think yeah, Arman I think is great. um Number
That's the
two
guy who
is
made this thing, right?
4 months
4 months, 3 week,
yes,
2 is
yes, yes,
yes.
yes, 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 yes. And number two is Pacifiction by Albert Serra,
I haven't seen
which
that.
is proper slow cinema, proper slow cinema, and it follows basically a trend of films, I think, which are like are about this. They're like doomsday films almost. So, like it's like a science fiction film, but like you're not able to see the actual action of the science fiction. So it's set in like these Polynesian islands essentially, where this French diplomat is handling affairs, and basically there's news that people are planning to bomb the place. Essentially, like different parts of the world are planning to bomb the place, and you kind of follow this person who is in control of the people in the village. So it's a colonized place essentially, and but the control basically like gradually moves away from him, and it's gradual in the sense that because the film is slowly paced, it feels like we are gently drifting away, like with him basically. And I think it's just, I think there's a hypnotic feel to the whole film. Like it just, again, lack of answers, you're like looking for clues, like the person, everything is happening in the background. It feels like something is going on, but you can't place your finger on what is going on. And I think that's a very common thing. I think that because it's tapping into a lot of like paranoia that I think people feel nowadays also, right? Like I think this whole idea that we are not in control, things are happening around us in a way which affect us. So I think that sort of really comes across in Pacifiction, and it's also one of the really great, well shot films of the year. Like it's amazingly, it looks stunning, but the stunning look serves a purpose. It's slightly hypnotic and surreal, and yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Difficult recommendation though, yeah. Like properly slow cinema. Like I don't want to like not emphasize that. It is,
No,
yeah.
but
It
it
might be a
is
stay for sure.
no, but Dhruv, it is set in a country which is not yet explored much. Like cinema
Yeah.
hasn't explored much, right? Polynesia को इतना I don't think explore किया है लोगों ने. So
But
I would
I
love
so
to
I
see
yeah.
the that side of things, like what
But I
happens.
think
Like,
it's also taking the perspective of the French diplomat. Yeah. So like, I mean, it's not going into the Polynesian side of it. Like it's a lot about how he subtly and explicitly exploits a lot of the people there. So there's that foreigner perspective which he is taking as a filmmaker, like and showing what happens in a sense. So I think the I yeah it's no, think Apocalypse Now. I think that was his inspiration. Like
mhm.
Apocalypse Now is different level, but yes, like think about it in terms of the film as that.
Okay,
But yeah,
good. That's quite
that's my
good.
number two. Yeah.
Okay, okay, that's wonderful. So my next three picks would be okay. Okay, Anatomy of a Fall is over. So Terrestrial Versus, I really
Okay.
enjoyed that film, watching it in Mami. It got premiered in Cannes, but in Cannes Film Festival in uncertain regards. But I really like this guy Ali Abbasi. Like I think he's the same guy who made Border some years back.
No,
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 no.
No,
That's
it
no.
is
Ali
Ali
Asgari. Oh,
Abbasi.
oh, okay, yes. Ali
He's
Uh,
Abbasi is
different, I
different.
think.
Ali Asgari is different. Oh, sorry, I got
yeah.
confused with that.
Hmm.
But yes, okay, but yes, this is a guy who made some other short film, I suppose, but it's okay. That this film was quite entertaining for the audience in the Audi as well. I
Hmm.
like people actually applauded at some scenes because people were relating to that particular scenes. Like even like Mamiya में अगर जाते हो तो you expect cinephiles, a bunch of cinephiles as well, and even a bunch of people who are struggling to make it in the industry, like
Hmm.
the aspiring writers, directors, and most of all writer directors. But यहाँ पे लोग तालियां बजा रहे थे about there's a story. So प्लॉट में वही है कि लोग यहाँ पे है and it's about their perspective, it's about their struggle, I would say, of from the system which has been
Hmm.
created कि नहीं ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए, ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए, and it's
Hmm.
about that. And it's like the system, not just the system of the government, but वेरियस पार्ट्स, लाइक एक स्कूल प्रिंसिपल भी होती है एक कॉन्वर्सेशन में, लाइक इट्स आल्सो अबाउट देम एज वेल कि
Hmm.
कैसे इट्स सो अमेजिंगली शॉर्ट कि सिर्फ हमें उसी चीज का, उसी इंसान का पर्सपेक्टिव से, लाइक उसी इंसान के नजरिए से दिखता है, उनका ही चेहरा दिखता है कि जिनको प्रॉब्लम हो रही है। और
Hmm.
जो मतलब जो अथॉरिटी वाले हैं वो तो सिर्फ मास्क, मतलब उन लोग उनके बाजू में ही कैमरा रखा है वैसे, वी जस्ट हियर अबाउट देयर, वी जस्ट हियर देयर वॉइस।
Hmm.
इट्स सो अमेजिंगली शॉर्ट, क्या क्या
Hmm.
अच्छे तरीके से हर एक स्टोरी एक के बढ़कर एक
Hmm.
थी। और
Hmm.
कभी 1 घंटा 20 मिनट, एंड असीम लव्स दोस फिल्म्स, लाइक छोटे वाले फिल्म्स, जैसे बात किए थे आपने जब
Yes.
हम मामी में मिले थे, लाइक आई जस्ट वॉच दिस, लाइक यू मेंशन दैट बहुत छोटी फिल्म थी लेकिन बहुत अच्छी फिल्म थी वैसे। सो आई
Yeah, but
इवन आई
Sanket,
लव।
I'm sorry, I'm cutting you really.
नो नो
You
नो।
should keep talking. You do realize that it's a critique of Iran. It's a critique of the government. It's a critique of the entire society. You know, the
Hmm.
director's been banned from making films. So
Yeah.
while the audiences in Bombay were laughing, I mean, because they were thinking of their lives just going to some producers. This is about censorship of the extreme kind, and it's
Hmm.
done in such a it's done in such a cynical style, censorship, and the way the control of the sort of this it's not even Islamic. It's this control system. Like the guy wants to call his son David or John or something, and that's the first story. And they just go on like, how can you? Why can you? Because that's the kind of a country Iran has become.
Hmm.
And the poor guy's been banned from making films. It's so unfortunate. But it's a very smart way of critiquing the
Hmm.
system. Anyway,
Yeah.
Absolutely, no,
Yeah.
absolutely true, Aseem, that you mentioned this, like बहुत uh, अच्छा ऑब्जर्वेशन, और ये सेम सिमिलर ऑब्जर्वेशन मुझे लग रहा था, लाइक
Yeah. I
अबाउट
mean,
दैट।
Iranian filmmakers के साथ I think has been going on for a while only, right? I think I mean Panahi I think is the sort of pace almost of it. I feel, in terms of the revolt he's doing through cinema and art against the ban in many senses. So, but yes,
So yes,
yeah.
the next one I would include is the next two one are actually Netflix originals.
Oh wow,
So like I just watched this recently, a film by Bradley Cooper, which is Maestro,
wow, you
That's still
like
and
it
very
that
good.
much?
yes,
Wow.
I loved it. I loved it.
Okay.
I haven't heard of Leonard Bernstein's story as
Music.
such, like
Hmm.
about his life journey.
Hmm.
I haven't heard any of his music except for West Side Story. I
Hmm.
have watched this film on the waterfront, but long years, like a long time back,
Hmm.
many years back. So मुझे उसका music नहीं पता because I just I love West Side Stories music and I keep hearing them, even the new one as well.
Hmm.
So उसी की वजह से like I loved that. But what a film, man! Like we just made a video. We and Abhinandan made a video
Hmm.
about that, like how like what all aspects which we loved in this film. Like whenever like if we divide this film in two parts, like how Bollywood like how Indian cinema does,
Hmm.
first half mein, we see from the perspective of the Bradley Cooper's character, which is Leonard
Hmm.
Bernstein, and then the second half it's from Carey Mulligan's character.
Hmm.
It's or फिर it's how they are just trying to make things out, and
Hmm.
it's about also about how Bradley Cooper is also working things out in his professional life as well, because he's the maestro.
Hmm.
So and it's all about that, like that couple's relationship.
Yeah.
I loved how like how this film was shot in black and white, जब black and white scenes थे. But at one point I felt better, like I मतलब Star is Born थोड़ा better लगा in the way how Matthew Libidic chooses the colors whenever there's the a kind of a music मतलब concert वाले sequence. खैर
Hmm.
लेकिन वो स्टोरी ही काफी मॉडर्न जैसी थी, इस फिल्म की स्टोरी ही वैसे वो टेक्निकलर जमाने वाली थी, सो उसने उन लोगों ने कलर्स भी वैसे ही यूज किए
Hmm.
इस फिल्म में. इट्स कंप्लीटली गेट इट, बट आई फेल्ट मोर लाइक वो स्टार इज बॉर्न थोड़ा उस फील्ड में
Hmm.
काफी अच्छा लगा था. बट यस, द नेक्स्ट वन आई वुड से दिस, मतलब ये तो लाइक आप लोग अगर द कोवेनेंट तो लोग सोच पाएंगे कि ओके इट कैन बी इन सम पीपल्स लिस्ट, ये तो
आप बोलो सर,
just
कोई बात नहीं.
no, but it's okay. Like ये फिल्म तो it's a film called Love at First Sight, जो नहीं अच्छी रहेगी, लोगों को अच्छी नहीं लगी, लेकिन I don't know,
Is it a
it
rom
kind
com?
of, not a rom-com, I would say, यार. मतलब it's about the probability of meeting two people at an airport and falling in love at that particular night.
Oh, I
Just
have heard about this. This is Haley Lou Richardson, right?
um,
The
I don't know who is the cast. Just let me
Okay.
figure out. But
It's on Netflix, isn't it?
absolutely
Yes.
right, absolutely.
Hmm.
Netflix वाली film है ये. So
Yeah.
like it has Dexter Fletcher, बस उतना पता है. Yes, Haley Lou
Oh,
Richardson and
Dexter
the
Fletcher is the director.
no, Dexter Fletcher director नहीं है, सिर्फ उनका special appearance जैसे, बस उतना ही है.
Okay, okay.
But yes, it has Dexter, like popular cast में से अगर बोल सकते हो तो Dexter Fletcher is kind of the popular one, but
Sure.
like जो couple है उसमें, an American girl and a British boy. I
British.
don't know
Mm-hmm.
their like names as well even,
Mm-hmm.
but yes, it's about the probability and possibility of meeting them and falling in love, and about just having conversation on that particular flight about what's wrong with their life, and just how to figure out. And अगर उन लोग दोनों just it's all about, I feel it's all about probability in this film, कि कैसे
Okay.
अगर एक like दोनों एयरपोर्ट के बाहर अगर चले जाते हैं, so क्या probability हो सकती है, और कि उन लोग दोनों थोड़ी देर बाद उन लोग फिर से मिल सकते हैं. So that kind of
Just
aspect.
like before sunrise. I mean, that's a high watermark, but I'm just
Yeah,
thinking
Sunday before sunrise.
there's a
Yeah.
yeah.
यस, उस फिल्म की झलक है डेफिनेटली, लेकिन यस ये कुछ ऐसा ही लग रहा था.
Yeah.
बट बिफोर सनराइज इज क्वाइट लाइक कि कॉन्वर्सेशन बेस्ड, हेवी कॉन्वर्सेशन बेस्ड था.
Mm-hmm.
इस फिल्म में इतना नहीं था, और
Okay.
सो दैट्स द थिंग. but yes, like before sunrise is like what happens is कि उन लोग दोनों मिलते हैं और बात करते हैं इसमें. It's more about finding each other after that particular conversation.
Okay, okay, okay. Got it. Got it.
So it's about that. But yes, this actually is my pick. So I think yes, the golden pick. It's now time for the golden pick. Aseem, your golden pick.
Um, this film I saw at the Cannes Film Festival. It played at Mummy also. Um, Wim Wenders' Perfect Days. I, there's never been a perfect film, at least this year.
Hmm.
Um, Such a simple story about a man who leaves the most frugal existence and sparse, and how he is so married into his daily routine, from waking up in the morning and watering his plants to driving and listening to his amazing music, showering and then going out, and then all day long cleaning bathrooms, and those toilets are so beautiful, first of all, in Tokyo. And goes out for a drink at night and he reads a little bit, eats a little bit, and then he goes to sleep. And the routine, and he has there's sadness in his life. He's not not talked to his daughter for a very long time, and uh, with his sister also, he doesn't have much of a relationship until the niece arrives. Um, but there was something so peaceful in that man's life that I wish we could really live that kind of a simple existence where we could be content with what we are. I mean, I live in such a cluttered world. My mind is cluttered, social media, and I think all of us really.
Yeah.
um, and I've been a big Wim Wenders fan for a very, very long time. I mean, I've seen, Paris, Texas, and when he made that beautiful story about those two angels hovering over Berlin,
Wings of Desire.
Wings of Desire. He's done some wonderful, wonderful documentaries, and he's played with 3D. I don't know if you guys have seen this documentary he made called Pina, about this German dancer,
Hmm.
where it's done in 3D, and
He
it's
did
almost like the
Anselm
dancers are
also,
all.
right? This year, which
Which
is in
one?
3D. Anselm is in
Yeah, he
3D.
did that, and people loved it.
Okay.
I found so that there's no narrative as such. It's a documentary, basically about an artist.
Yeah.
Um, it didn't work for me, but this
Sure.
one really
Okay.
worked for me. He
Yeah.
made a
No,
wonderful documentary which made me visit Cuba. He made a film called Buena Vista Social Club. The
I've
music
heard
is
of this,
stunning,
but
and
yeah. Hmm.
anyway, so Perfect Days is just fantastic.
It's like a good friend Amartya is
It's
watching
like
it
it's
right
like
now. And
Patterson of this year. That's true. That's what Amartya is saying. Yes,
Hmm.
in a
Need
lot
to
of
that's
ways.
great.
watch. Need to watch.
So Dhruv, your golden pick.
Okay, so the golden pick is I'll say slightly recency bias also, because I've been thinking about this movie a lot since I've watched it, and I rewatched it yesterday. Is May December by Todd Haynes,
Ah,
which I think is just one of those films which I watched it, I liked it, I quite liked it, but then once it sort of just settles in my mind, it just kept on pushing and pulling in different directions, and I think just thinking about it, I feel there's so much to like take from it once you dive deeper and deeper into it. So essentially, the story is actually very, and actually it leads into a very good conversation about provocative cinema, because I think this year we've had, for heaven's sake, Animal in India, which is your provocative cinema and whatever. It's like showing the middle finger to everyone. And I mean, I would say something like May December actually is the type of provocative cinema which is engaging with provocation in a way which is very, very good. Like, I think it's challenging the viewer, but it's not insisting, or it's not pushing them to just be uncomfortable for the sake of it. So the story, I think, is about this actress called Elizabeth Berry, who's played by Natalie Portman, who goes to this couple's house, played by Julianne Moore and Charles Melton. They are basically, she's an older woman who had an affair with him when he was, well, affair is quote unquote affair, which can be, she was charged with, I think, statutory rape of a 13-year-old boy. essentially, and they are still married. So it's like a very sticky situation where she's going to make a movie about their scandal, essentially, to recreate, what's happened. And I think. um so the film's hitting like a lot of the inspiration is Ingmar Bergman's persona, about, like, the actress going in and wanting to become the character and doing anything to become the character. But then there is the actor, then there's the character herself, Julianne Moore, who's putting up a performance, trying to show everything is nice and everything, but, like, but is internally really going through another thing. And then you kind of, I think one of the great things about the film is just tone. It's very hard, I think, to capture the tone of May December. And I feel there are times when people, I think, on the internet were calling it camp and high melodrama, and it is melodrama. I think it's like very high melodrama, but then you also have the Charles Melton character, and the way it, like, integrates him into the narrative slowly, and you kind of get the cost of what is happening between these two women who are, like, vying for power, essentially. I think it's fascinating, and I'm a big Todd Haynes fan. Wo bhi asterisk I'll put. I have liked a lot of his works, but yeah, I found this, like, really rewarding. I've been There's the one film I've been thinking about the most since I've watched it. So yes,
Oh,
May
okay, that's
December.
good.
Yeah,
That's good.
I
So
still have to
my
watch it. I
is
might watch it
okay.
tonight, actually.
yeah, it's really good.
Okay, so my golden pick, I actually like the one. This is like not the one, but हाँ ये chronology wise तो नहीं है लेकिन so the last pick I would say is The Creator, which we discussed
Oh wow,
again
okay.
with Dhruv.
Gareth
The
Edwards film.
Creator by I forgot the name of the
Gareth
director, but
Edwards.
Gareth Edwards. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And how amazing of a film it was, by just how original it was to make that film. Like it's about a nirmata, I would say. Like okay, kaise log, like it's about the Eastern culture, or like Eastern people versus the Western people. The Americans are always right, or they are like the Chinese people, so to say, and it's obviously the mix of those people, the East
Yeah.
Asian people. So they are about they are making an AI sort of a thing, and they're encouraging those AI things. But here is the Western power who is against those things, and they are telling people that this is the bad thing. और फिर जाके उन लोग ये सब चीजों पे अटैक करना शुरू कर देते हैं, लाइक अबाउट
Mm-hmm.
दे आर अटैकिंग द चाइनीज बेसिस, these
Mm-hmm.
people. But here we have a character who has a हृदय परिवर्तन हो जाता है उनको. It's
Right.
kind of like an like Avatar 1, जहाँ पे
Yeah.
the character पहले US के साइड में आता, फिर like he turns his like side to the tribals. यहाँ पे भी it's quite similar to that. But I liked how original it was, and how the VFX was done as compared to an some other DC Marvel film.
Yeah.
I watched, I sometime watched वैसे. So
Yeah.
this was my pick. So there's one more round to go. Any one special mention, Aseem, special mention about from this year, which you wouldn't include this in your top 10, but yes, it is something you people should watch it.
Um, there are a couple of films. I think A Fire is Christian Petzold's is very, very good. I think Anatomy of a Fall is really a fascinating film. Um, bunch of foreign language film. There's a Jordanian film. I think it's Jordanian. I keep confusing if it's Lebanese or Jordanian. I think it's Jordanian. Inshallah, boy.
Hmm.
Uh,
It's
uh,
a Lebanese film, no? Aseem, I think you spoke
yeah,
with
I
me,
keep mixing up
right?
with this Lebanon or Jordan,
Hmm. Hmm.
because they're right next to, surrounded by
Hmm.
surrounding Israel.
Mm-hmm.
It was quite a revelation, that story. Um, Also this year, so I'm thinking of all these films. Also this year, there was a film in Yemen, which I didn't even know they make films in Yemen, called The Burdened. You guys should look for those films really, because they're quite very interesting
Yeah.
facets of lives of people in countries we don't know much about really.
Hmm.
And Yemen's been at civil war for so long, and how it affects people's lives.
Hmm.
Um, so
Hmm.
just off the top of my head.
Okay,
Yeah.
Dhruv, any
Yeah,
some
I
special?
have a couple. I mean, I'll mention I'll mention Wes Anderson's short film I really like, The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar. Netflix ka hai, you can go and watch it. It's 40 minutes. It's an audiobook reading, visualized in a great way, I think. So that is one. But like the other one, I think I really like to highlight, and I think it's the Tunisian entry for uh, the Oscars, and
Oh,
it played at
for
Mami. Four Daughters.
photos.
Yeah, Four Daughters. So it again plays into the docufiction angle really well, and it's I guess it gets to this whole idea of how indoctrination sort of happens in terms of, this woman has four daughters, two of whom are taken in by ISIS essentially. And but I think one of the great thing about the film was that it really probed the mother character and how she potentially, contributed to these daughters going away and, seeking another form of uh, quote unquote ideological prison. So I think one of the so that's the sort of crux of it. I think it's interesting always when a film, takes a subject and then is willing to challenge their perspective and willing to challenge the subject's perspective, which is happening here very much. So yeah, please do check it out whenever you. I think it should be online soon, or it is already.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay, sure. So my special mention would be the Great Escaper, which
Oh,
is yes, quite strangely I wanted to watch this film because back in October it got released, or फिर जाके I just read the premise of this film. Okay, there's a person who in his 80s just want to go to the war memorial. It's by the director Oliver Parker, who made this film with Julia Roberts and George Clooney last year. So that's I think yes, he made a film with them. So okay, and just heard about them this guy who's in his 80s and uh, visiting France, and he's in his old age home with living
Hmm.
with his wife, and there he's just going there since he was a part of the British troops
Hmm.
of D-Day. So that actually fascinated me to watch this film. So I loved Glenda Jackson's acting because, and I wasn't aware who she was because, as I can see, after watching this film, I got to know that she is one of
मर
a
गई बेचारी.
like exactly she was an MP and she was in some great movies as well, in
Hmm.
her time. So yes, I wasn't I I wasn't aware of her, but I obviously am aware of this guy called
Michael
Michael
Caine.
Caine. Yes, absolutely, and he was
Yeah.
amazing. At some point of time, एक बार वो story थोड़ी सी ढीली जैसे पड़ गई थी for me, but it's still fine because like वो जो plot था, like they how they balanced it out, जो थोड़े previous 1940s 44 वाला जो scenes थे, और जब भी it's they are talking about the current scenes. So
Hmm.
and it is also based on true events as well because यहाँ पे they are mentioning that Obama is attending, even the Queen is attending the ceremony. So I quite liked it. So yeah,
Sanket, I'm sorry, but do you know that the same story was made into two films, and both were released like about like 2 or 3 months apart. So The Great Escaper has Michael Caine and Glenda Jackson, and then there's a film called The Last Rifleman. Same story. The guy runs away from his and it has Pierce Bronson in it. I don't know how the two films managed to get made and get got released the same time. You
oh
should
okay.
watch that. I've only seen like half of Rifleman. The other one I haven't even seen. But maybe you should see them both to compare them. Just
Yep.
curious.
Oh,
Yep.
this absolutely, absolutely,
Yep.
definitely. And this one scene especially, I loved it. They included so what they did was, obviously D-Day is quite famous for America's and British involvement in the D-Day landings, right? Like the
Normandy
Normandy
Beach,
Beach
yeah.
landings,
Mhm.
right? So, but there's one scene I would like to mention that. There's a restaurant and they enter, like Michael Caine's character enters the restaurant, and then he sees a bunch of German people talking, and I was like, why are they doing it? What are they doing here?
Mhm.
Like there's no business for them. But then the bar owner actually tells them that it is their day as well. They were also like present in that particular day.
Mhm.
Like what happens, like what if, like, sorry, uh, उसमें क्या होगा कि like they were in the losing side, but they were still participating in that particular war, and
Yep.
this is their day as well. And
Mhm.
that was kind of a turning point for me for that particular film, that you
Mhm.
only include some British and American sides perspective, and this is where you include the so to say the enemy people in that like that time. और यहाँ
Mhm.
पे फिर उन दोनों आते हैं and they like they salute each others, because like वो past is the past thing, like I वो याद दिलाती है, and it's so
Mhm.
emotional, that scene.
Mhm.
It's fantastic, and I'll definitely check it out, Rifleman as well, Aseem.
Yep.
So yes, absolutely. So thank you so much for the suggestion. Thank you so much, Aseem, Dhruv, for
Thank
coming
you.
to this discussion. Had so much fun talking about films like Perfect Days, which I'm about like to watch in some days. uh, hope to see you soon, Aseem and Dhruv, in some other videos as well. Till then, thank you so
Yes.
much.
Thank you
Sure.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Good night. Yeah.
Good night.
Night.